Hello everyone and welcome. My name's Sam Goff. I'm the editorial director here at Klassiki, and today I'd like to introduce you to the work of the Polish Film School, a group of directors who broke the mould for filmmaking in the country in the 1950s and 60s. They emerged from a literal school, the famous National Film School in Łódź. Often working in close collaboration with one another, a cohort of writers, directors and actors created a series of cross-pollinating and epochal films between roughly 1956 and 1963. In the space of these few years, the likes of Andrzej Wajda, Andrzej Munk, Jerzy Kawalerowicz and Wojciech Has had established Poland as one of the filmmaking centres of Central and Eastern Europe. Now, shortly after Nikita Khrushchev had denounced the legacy of Stalin in 1956, Poland's own post-war communist leader, Bolesław Bierut, died of a heart attack. And after a reformist wing came to power in Warsaw, social and cultural liberalisation followed, which mirrored the so-called thaw that was taking place at that time in the Soviet Union. Now, one effect of this was a renewed openness to international culture, and foreign films were made available to students and industry professionals, including our group of graduates from Łódź, who gathered together to devour the latest in contemporary American and Italian cinema, drawn to those nations' depictions of post-war reconstruction, their humanistic concern for ordinary protagonists, their doomed romanticism, their social satire, and their interest in youth culture and jazz. The film school can be seen as Poland's attempt to reckon with the aftermath of the Second World War, which had devastated the country like few others, and its effect was both universal but also deeply personal for the filmmakers in question. Andrzej Wajda's father was killed by the Red Army, Jerzy Skolimowski's was killed by the Nazis, and Roman Polanski lost much of his family in Auschwitz and himself personally survived the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto. Wajda's towering war trilogy is often seen as the foundation of the entire film school. It consists of A Generation from 1955, which charts the rise of the communist resistance to the Nazis, Canal from 1957, which is the first film about the Warsaw Uprising, and finally Ashes and Diamonds from 1958, which stars Poland's James Dean, Zbigniew Cybulski, as a member of the post-war anti-communist underground who is caught in a trap of his own cynicism. Now, the Polish Film School is often divided between those like Wajda, who are concerned with the idea of heroism, and those who were more committed to a kind of ironic deconstruction of the comforting myths of national history and character. The tragic poster boy of this latter faction was Andrzej Munk, who completed only 3 features before he was killed in a car accident in 1961. And the knowingly titled Eroica from 1958, the same year as Wajda's Ashes and Diamonds, is his most acerbic comment on the false pieties of national pride. In these early post-war years, it was difficult for filmmakers to confront the horrors of the Holocaust directly, due to both the perils of censorship and also the deep personal trauma involved for many artists. When the Holocaust occurs or features in Polish film school works, it is often referenced indirectly and it's always off screen. One example is Wojciech Has's Farewells, also from 1958, which documents a doomed affair interrupted by the war, during which the male lead, Pavel, is interred and irrevocably scarred at Auschwitz. The film school didn't just deal with the war, it also treated the social and cultural problems that emerged as part of Poland's post-war consolidation into a one-party communist state. The liberalisation of the post-1956 years comes across in a series of films which often treat questions of sexual morality and cultural fragmentation with surprising level of clarity and lack of sentiment. For instance, Roman Polanski's only Polish film, Knife in the Water, from 1962, which is a new breed of psychological thriller about the conflict between a husband and a virile young hitchhiker with intentions on his wife. In the same vein, Jerzy Kawalerowicz made one of the most distinctive films of the film score in 1961 with his Mother Joan of the Angels, a tale of demonic possession and sapphic connivance in a 17th century convent. Now, the film school was a vital and vibrant movement, but it was short-lived. Since they were unable to apply the same revisionist lens to the communist presence that they had applied to the Second World War, its momentum quickly dissipated. Andrzej Munk died in 1961, as I've mentioned. Skolimowski and Polanski would soon emigrate. Kawalerowicz dedicated himself to being a studio head, and Tadeusz Konwicki would go on to become a successful author rather than pursuing a further career in film. Some directors like Wajda and Haas would go on to have notable careers in Poland, and Wajda would ultimately win the Palme d'Or in 1981 for his film Man of Iron. But the influence of the film school was felt throughout the following decades in Poland, even as communist censorship tightened its grip after that initial post-Stalinist liberalization. The film school's influence is evident in the works of the so-called cinema of moral anxiety movement, which was a new grouping of auteurs that emerged in the 70s and 80s, the likes of Krzysztof Kieslowski, Krzysztof Zanussi, Agnieszka Holland, who used ordinary protagonists and ordinary provincial settings like the film school had done, but here to explore the moral rot at the heart of Polish communist society. And some of the film school are still going strong today. Jerzy Skolimowski's most recent film, Ejo, was lauded at festivals across Europe and America and saw celebratory retrospectives for the nonagenarian veteran in both New York and London, proving that there's still life in the old donkey yet.